Welcome to Titans of Terror, where we look at the men and women who have shaped the horror landscape. Today's victim, or subject, classic Hollywood actress, Evelyn Ankers. Evelyn Felissa Ankers was born in Valparaiso, Chile, to English parents on August 17, 1918. She made her stage debut at the age of 10 in the title role of the daughter of Dolores. Her family moved back to England in the 1920s. She was educated at the Latimer School, the Godolphin School, the Tacoma School of Music and Dramatic Art, and the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London. She began appearing in small, mostly uncredited roles in English movies in the mid-1930s, while she was still in school. She appeared in an uncredited role as a lady-in-waiting in 1937's Fire Over England with Laurence Olivier and Vivien Leigh. She soon won starring roles in the low-budget 1938 British crime drama The Villiers Diamond, about a man released from prison who goes undercover to discover a stolen diamond. Evelyn plays the thief's niece wrapped up in the whole thing. That same year, Evelyn played a niece once again in The Clayton Treasure Mystery, about a mystery writer invited to a wealthy estate to solve a murder and to find a treasure. With war on the horizon in Europe, Evelyn emigrated to the United States and was signed to a contract by Universal in 1940. She made her Universal debut in the 1941 Abbott and Costello comedy horror picture, Hold That Ghost, about two dim-witted service station attendants finding themselves stranded in a haunted house. In the film, Evelyn lets out one blood-curdling scream, the first of many to come. Evelyn next starred in one of her most well-known roles, alongside Lon Chaney Jr., in the 1941 horror film, The Wolfman. Evelyn plays the lead character's love interest, an antique shop worker named Gwen Conliffe. The film has gone on to legendary status as a bona fide horror classic. The next year, Evelyn starred opposite Lon Chaney Jr. once again in The Ghost of Frankenstein, with Chaney playing the monster. In this fourth Universal Frankenstein film, Evelyn portrays the doctor's daughter, Elsa Frankenstein. Despite working together many times over the years, Evelyn and Lon reportedly had a strong disliking for each other. Often Lon would scare Evelyn, and because of this, she referred to him as a brute with bad breath. 1942 was a busy year for Evelyn, as she had a major role in Sherlock Holmes and The Voice of Terror, alongside Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce as Holmes and Watsons, respectively. In the film, Evelyn plays Kitty, a widow of one of Holmes' operatives that aids in the case. Evelyn married B-movie star Richard Denning on September 6, 1942, and made a go at expressing the anxieties of the home front while her husband was off at war. In 1943, Evelyn appeared in Captive Wild Woman, alongside Aquanetta. Evelyn plays an animal trainer's fiancé that gets entangled in wacky experiments trying to turn a female gorilla into a human. In that same year's Son of Dracula, Evelyn plays the vampire's new sister-in-law. The vampire, of course, is played by her old pal, Lon Chaney Jr. Reception to the film was very mixed, with some praising it, while others thought it was not very good. Evelyn's next foray into horror was 1943's The Mad Ghoul. Here she played a concert singer that has a mad scientist assistant for a boyfriend. The film ended up being a sort of rehash of Frankenstein. Universal had planned for Evelyn to perform her own songs in the film, but the idea was scrapped at the last moment, and library recordings of Lillian Cornell singing were used as a replacement. Evelyn took a turn in 1944 as she played a villainess, trying to destroy a professor and his new wife in Weird Woman, the second of 6 Inner Sanctum mysteries adapted from the popular radio series of the day. And you guessed it, it stars Lon Chaney Jr. as the professor. She found playing a villainess rather difficult. When the director would say action, and Evelyn would try to exact a menacing look, she and co-star Anne Gwynn would almost inevitably start laughing. Universal never hired her to play a villain ever again. Next up for Evelyn was Jungle Woman, a sequel to the previous year's Captive Wild Woman, with Aquanetta returning to play the Ape Woman. This time the doctor is in court for the murder of Paula Dupree, aka the Ape Woman. This film is often considered one of the worst Universal monster movies. Evelyn then appeared in Universal's fifth Invisible Man film, The Invisible Man's Revenge, in 1944. This one concerns an eccentric scientist helping a fugitive from the law become invisible, unwittingly giving him the power to exact revenge on his former friends. Her appearance here makes Evelyn the only actress to appear in an Invisible Man, a Wolfman, a Dracula, and a Frankenstein film. Evelyn returned with another Sherlock Holmes film with Rathbone and Bruce called The Pearl of Death. This time Evelyn was an accomplice of the villain. The film is notable today for the appearance of Rondo Hatton as a brutal killer. Evelyn returned one more time to the Inner Sanctum, where she played in 1945's The Frozen Ghost. Evelyn plays a stage assistant romantically pursuing her former employer, stage mentalist Gregor the Great, played by Lon Chaney Jr. In the film, a drunken audience member belittles Gregor's act. When the man suddenly dies, Gregor convinces himself that his hypnotic powers are to blame. Horror films were quite popular during World War II, but by 1945, when the war ceased, they went out of favor with audiences. Evelyn's career, linked to that genre at Universal, suffered. She quit Universal in 1945 and freelanced in dramas and mysteries, mostly at Columbia, Producers Releasing Corporation, PRC, and Republic Pictures. One of those films was The Fatal Witness, made for Republic, where Evelyn portrayed a ward discovering her wealthy guardian dead while the guardian's disinherited nephew was jailed, but is the prime suspect. Evelyn co-starred with her returning husband Richard in the 1946 adaptation of Black Beauty for 20th Century Fox. For PRC, she headlined 1946's Queen of Burlesque, in which she plays a striptease artist accused of murdering a fellow dancer at a burlesque club. Her reporter boyfriend turns detective in an attempt to prove her innocence. In 1949, Evelyn played a missing aviator hiding out in the jungle in Tarzan's Magic Fountain. Tarzan gets her to return 20 years later to testify for a man sentenced to life imprisonment. Her appearance sparks a debate of the Fountain of Youth, where two men go looking for it. As the 1950s dawned, Evelyn quit the movies for married life and motherhood, after making The Texan Meets Calamity Jane, in which she played the infamous Calamity Jane fighting for her rightful ownership of a gambling hall. A decade later, Evelyn came out of retirement to make one final screen appearance with her husband in the Christian short film No Greater Love, about a dentist and his wife joining Christian missionaries for duty in Africa. In 1968, Richard got a role on the Hawaiian-shot television series Hawaii Five-0, and they loved it so much they stayed. Evelyn Ankers died of ovarian cancer on August 29, 1985, just 12 days after her 67th birthday. Known as the Queen of the Bees and the Queen of the Screamers, Evelyn Ankers is a true titan of terror.